Officials stress the air and water monitoring continues to show no threat, and they'll be checking in the days, weeks, and months to come to make sure nothing changes. As for the fire itself at SPS, it isn't completely out. Officials mentioned the challenge of reaching every part of this 500,000+ square foot property. A team of firefighters, demolition, and environmental experts will be working to make sure all the hot spots are taken care of. As for residents who find any debris from the fire, Abington Police Chief Patrick Malloy says they should call 911.
Someone from our fire company or the police department will come out there and collect that and take that off their property. We don't want them to handle that or touch it.
In Abington, Tim Jimenez, KYW News Radio 103.9 FM.
And set to reopen the Jenkintown, Wyncote, Glenside, and Noble stations after the shelter-in-place was lifted. No word yet from officials on if whether classes will resume tomorrow in the Jenkintown, Abington, and Cheltenham school districts. A Montgomery County man who served time as a volunteer with the Montgomery County Board of Prisons is in hot water, though. That's coming up right after a check of traffic and weather on the 2s as we take you right now to the PJ Fitzpatrick Home Improvement Traffic Center and get the latest from Stevie.
Well, thanks a lot, Denise. We've got jammed traffic on southbound 295 in New Jersey. The delay starts before the White Horse Pike, and it goes all the way down into the Aljo Curve, where there apparently is a broken down vehicle that's in the left lane. Now we're starting to see some jammed traffic on 295 northbound past the Black Horse Pike. Not sure exactly what that is, but it is definitely slow in that area. Looking okay on the Atlantic City Expressway, and no problems on the Jersey Turnpike. 42 and 55, we're okay. Back over in PA, northbound 95, seeing some spots of slow traffic north of Girard to north of the Betsy Ross Bridge, even some slowing northbound up near Academy. Some southbound, no southbound delay now. Southbound on the Blue Route 476, traffic is very heavy before you get to the Villanova St. David's exit. Down to past that because of a broken down truck. Apparently the right lane is being blocked there. Eastbound Schuylkill, slow traffic at the Blue Route 476, and then East Montgomery to Girard, westbound and south, you're jammed, and westbound heavy traffic near the Boulevard out to Belmont. Boulevard North near the Wissahickon exit, you're seeing some slow traffic there as well. If you see something on the roads, let us know. KYW traffic tip line is 215-724-1060, sponsored by the Philadelphia Parking Authority, enhancing public safety and neighborhood quality of life. I'm Stevie Reese.
All right, Stevie, thanks.
Depend on KYW News Radio for up-to-the-minute weather information, sponsored by NECA and IBEW 126.
It is a chilly one. A few getting some flurries tomorrow. Let's check in with AccuWeather meteorologist Jason Caterina.
For the rest of our Wednesday, it remains mostly cloudy and cold with the high only 31. Tonight, mostly cloudy and still cold. We'll get some light snow off to the south, the low down to 20 overnight. Then as we head through Thursday, another cold day with lots of clouds around. It'll be breezy in the afternoon as well. We'll start to pick up some snow and flurries at times starting around midday and then accumulating a coating to an inch. So that means the roads could be slick for the evening commute in spots with the high of 29. Now on Friday, it'll be partly to mostly sunny, windy, not as cold, a warm up on the way over the weekend, albeit a slow one, a high of 39. Saturday, partly to mostly sunny, the high of 40 degrees. Not a bad day to be out and about, though. Then mostly sunny on Sunday, the best day of the weekend, the high up to 45 for us on Sunday afternoon. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jason Caterina.
We got a partly cloudy sky in Center City, currently 29 degrees as we drop to a low of 20. Well, he spent 30 years in prison for a murder when he was 17 years old, and now a 56-year-old Montgomery County man could face additional prison time after pleading guilty to forging forms to steal COVID relief funds. More on this with KYW Suburban Bureau Chief Jim Melwert.
Vernon Steed of Upper Gwinnett pleaded guilty to 9 felonies, including dealing in unlawful proceeds and theft by deception for forging forms to collect about $95,000 of COVID rental relief funds. Prosecutor Gwen Call says in 2021, Steed and his wife used his position as a mentor to people dealing with addiction to get their IDs, listing his dead sister-in-law as landlord of properties he didn't own.
They then gave some funds, very little amounts in gift cards and some little cash, to these people who had given them their ID cards, but then they used the majority of that cash to pay back credit card debt.
Cole says it's too early to say what sentence prosecutors will seek for Steed, but guidelines call for state prison time. His wife previously pleaded guilty and was sentenced to house arrest. Steed could face additional time for violating parole, which he was granted in 2018 after the Supreme Court ruled life sentences for juveniles were unconstitutional. Steed was sentenced to life in 1988 for a shooting when he was 17. He stepped down from his volunteer position on the Montgomery County Board of Prisons days before the fraud charges charges were filed. At the Suburban Bureau, Jim Melwart, KYW News Radio 103.9 FM.
New Jersey Attorney General Matt Platkin has been leading the legal challenges to block President Trump's executive orders. And that includes a major case filed last week, along with 13 other attorneys general challenging the authority of Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency. He spoke with KYW South Jersey reporter Mike Doherty about where things stand.
Well, each case is progressing at its own pace, but generally there are several injunctions in effect.
AG Matt Platkin says the administration has been complying with many of the court-ordered injunctions on birthright citizenship, freezing of federal grants, and caps on funding for research and others.
These are not particularly close calls. The president cannot, with the stroke of a pen, rewrite an amendment to the Constitution.
President Trump does have solid approval ratings and is generally doing many of the things he promised to do. Platkin says that's all well and good, but there is a process for making changes that must be respected.
This isn't about who you voted for or the outcome of an election. I've said many times the president is entitled to put forth a policy agenda that he sees fit. By the way, he has majorities in Congress. He's certainly entitled to work with them to change the law. What he is not entitled to do is disregard the law and to hurt our residents in the process.
Platkin says these cases aren't taking away from ensuring that local cases are prosecuted. At the South Jersey Bureau, Mike Doherty, KYW News Radio 103.9 FM.
War in Ukraine. The latest from KYW News Radio.
Ukrainian President Zelensky says President Trump is living in a Russian disinformation space. And in response, Trump called him a dictator without elections, possibly signaling an increasing rift between the U.S. and their longtime ally. Now, Trump suggested yesterday that Ukraine started the war with Russia and that Ukraine should have made concessions to Moscow to prevent it. He said that after Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with Russian officials in Saudi Arabia yesterday without Ukraine.
And I think I have the power to end this war. And I think it's going very well.
Former Defense Department official Nick Mulroy says more parties should have been included in yesterday's meeting.
If the intent of this was to reset the relationship between the U.S. and Russia, then one can make the argument that it had to be between those two countries first. But if the intent ultimately, and that is what they said, to have a permanent and comprehensive ceasefire, then they're going to have to bring in Ukraine.
European leaders will have more emergency meetings on their own to talk about Ukraine's future, and Secretary of State Rubio claims there is no intention to exclude them from peace negotiations, saying no one is being sidelined here. We got a broken down vehicle causing some slowdowns, 295 southbound at the Aljo curve. We'll check into it coming up.
Celebrating 60 years, KYW News Radio, the Delaware Valley's first choice for news, traffic, and weather.
We're back in the Miller's front yard, who recently switched to True Green. Their lawn started looking like a golf course, and PGA Tour golfers started showing up. Here's one now hitting out of this lush green grass. He has to avoid that sandbox to keep his round going. Into the sand. It's a toy dump truck and rolls out.
Oh, the neighbors love the action on this True Green lawn.
Get a PGA Tour quality lawn for as little as $1 a day. Sign up now at TrueGreen.com. Exclusions apply. See TrueGreen.com for details.
It's the President's Day sales event at Ross Choate's Norristown Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram. This is typically our biggest sales event and some of the best deals of the year. Over 150 new Jeep, Ram, Chrysler, and Dodge products are all priced to move, with financing on select models as low as 0% for up to 72 months. Lease a brand new 2025 Ram 1500 Night Edition and take $92.50 off MSRP and pay only $299 per month. $299.